We are in The Road to Paris, Chapter 23, Choir Practice. Paris's math workbook was one colossal smudge. That's what you get for rushing, thought Paris. But she couldn't help herself. According to house rules, unless she finished her homework on time, she couldn't go to choir, and if she didn't get to go to choir, she'd die. No question. Paris solved the last problem on the page, slammed the workbook on her desk, and grabbed her jacket. Easter was less than 2 weeks away, and Star of Bethlehem's choirs were getting ready. The youth choir had 2 songs to sing, Christ the Lord is Risen Today, which they'd sing together with the adult choir, and a punched-up version of Because He Lives, which would show off all their hard work on 3-part harmony. Paris couldn't wait. "What are you wearing?" asked the girl standing to her right. "What?" "On Easter. Did you get your new dress yet?" Paris shook her head, suddenly concerned. Brianna's right. What am I going to wear? Half the kids in the choir had been buzzing about the new clothes their moms had bought them for Easter. New hats, too. Not everyday boots and sweaters like Viola had bought Paris, but patent leather Mary Janes with bows on them, flouncy taffeta dresses with poofy sleeves for the girls, and navy blue suits with crisp white shirts for the boys. Nobody had taken Paris shopping for those kinds of clothes. I'm going to be the only one wearing old clothes, thought Paris. I'm going to stick out. Shoot! Why can't we wear robes like the grown-up choir? Good evening! The youth choir director tapped the music with her baton to get everyone's attention. All right, kids, it's time to focus. Let's get serious. Now, remember, God is watching. Paris looked up, as if to catch a glimpse of him. The director led the choir in scales as a warm-up. Then she tapped the music stand a second time. Good. Now turn to Because He Lives, page 213. Although most of you should know the words by now. Good thing the music arrangement was up-tempo. Otherwise, Paris would have rocked herself to sleep in its rhythm. As it was, she closed her eyes while she sang so that the words could sink into her. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Paris sang the words, and they became true for her. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of being beaten, or being locked in a closet, not of the dark, or of never seeing Malcolm again, or of nobody wanting her. And she wasn't even afraid of sticking out on Easter. Paris could hardly recognize the fearless person she was turning into. Because I know He holds the future. She was learning to keep God in her pocket. And because she had Him to talk to, she was beginning to have faith that she'd be all right. Well, that's chapter 23, And Paris is really settling into her new life. So join me in the next chapter to find out what is next on the road to Paris. We are reading The Road to Paris, chapter 24, Saturday Surprise. Saturday morning found Paris playing hide and seek with David and Jordan. Jordan was it, which meant that he was hiding in the shed. David and Paris both knew that because it was where Jordan always hid. Either he didn't quite get the game, or he liked being in the shed. They couldn't figure out which. Either way, they took their time finding him to stretch the game out. I wonder if Jordan's behind this bush, said Paris loudly. Nope, not here. Hey, I know, said David. I'll bet he's in Jet's doghouse. A giggle came from the shed. That was when Paris pushed the door open. Gotcha, she cried. Still giggling, Jordan stepped out onto the grass. Now it was Paris's turn. She loved the game. She was better than anyone at hiding. That was the main reason David agreed to play. Paris made it a challenge. The boys both covered their eyes and started counting to 10. 1. Paris sprinted toward the house. There were more places to hide inside than there were in the yard. 2, 3. Paris opened the screen door gingerly, careful not to let it bang behind her. 4, 5. Kids, called their mother from the living room. Get in here. Paris groaned. So much for hide and seek. David, Jordan, now. The boys joined Paris, wondering how their mom was going to ruin their Saturday fun. Wash your hands and get in the car. Jordan, tie your laces before you trip over them. Where are we going? Asked David. Get in the car and you'll see. With bottom lips dragging on the floor, Paris and David grumbled and headed out the door. Paris slouched in the back seat, disinterested in the view out the window. Jordan bounced up and down in the front. He was always excited to go for a ride, no matter where. David hated being cooped up in a car. To keep himself from going stir-crazy, he counted every black car they passed. A few minutes later, the car came to a complete stop. Paris looked out the window and saw that they were parked in the center of town. Let's go, said Mrs. Lincoln. The kids piled out and followed her into a clothing store. She waved David and Jordan over to the boys' section. Start looking around for a suit you might like for Easter, she said. I'll be over there to help you in a minute. Go on. Then she turned to Paris. As for us, we're going to go find you a dress. A dress? Said Paris. For me? You see any other little girls here? Mrs. Lincoln read the surprise on Paris's face. Easter's almost here, she said, and every Easter I buy my kids new clothes. You're one of my kids now, Paris, and I treat all my kids the same. I'm taking Arletta shopping next week, so come on, let's find you a dress. Paris nodded, the lump in her throat making it impossible to speak. For the next hour, Paris tried on nearly every dress in her size. She ran her fingers over yards of silk, nylon, dotted Swiss, and sheer cotton. She pulled the last dress over her head. It was a beautiful seafoam green, and picked up the flecks of green in her hazel eyes. She didn't even like dresses, but she loved this one. Paris stared at her new self in the mirror. She couldn't help wondering how long this would all last, how long she'd get to be one of Mrs. Lincoln's kids. She closed her eyes and shook off the thought, turning her imagination to her next choir practice. Just wait, she thought. I'll get to brag about my new Easter clothes like everybody else. This thought made her smile inside and out. I like this one, said Paris. Well then, said Mrs. Lincoln, it's yours. Well, we're at the end of chapter 24. And this brings back memories for me. I remember as a young girl going Easter shopping for a new dress for Easter Sunday. And I have 3 sisters, and so we all went together. And oh, those were such good times, just being with my sisters and enjoying looking pretty on Easter Day. Well, let's continue on our journey in the road to Paris with our next chapter, chapter 25. So join me back here in the next chapter.